Hello and welcome. You're watching Buy Now Sell Now on ET Now with me, Somit Sarkar, and my co-anchor Shrishti Sharma. Well, markets, if you see, after hitting the high of 23,100 couple of days back, Shrishti, it's down around 400 points from there now.
Well, yes, Somit, and the selling is just getting intensified from the word go. And today, what we are seeing is that Bank Nifty is seen to be breaking below that 22,800 mark as well when it comes to Nifty 50. And for now, Nifty Bank is seen to be underperforming. 1% cut is what we are seeing on that particular index. At the opening tick, we did see some of these PSU banking counters doing well from the likes of Canara Bank, SBI, PNB. They were all seen to be gaining momentum. But as we go ahead with the day, all this momentum is seen to be fizzling out, and from all these banking counters, we are seeing that they are trading at the day's lowest point. When we talk about some of the other movers and shakers in the Nifty 50 pack, then definitely some of the power names like Power Grid is shining bright, 1.3% uptick on that particular counter. Hindalco on the back of the Novelis news flow is holding strong with just 1% gain as of now, and some of these pharma names like Sun Pharma, Cipla, the defensives are seen to be making a comeback, but the comeback is not that substantial as we see right now. On the flip side, what we are seeing is that some of these private banking names from the likes of ICICI Bank, SBI, HDFC Bank, they are seen to be reeling under pressure. 1.5% to 2% cut is what we are seeing on all these private majors. But like we mentioned, that even the PSU banking counters, they are not supportive as of now. SBI Life is one of the top losers in Nifty 50 today, followed by Ultratech Cement. But the breadth of the market is also not supportive too. It's a bit of an even Steven, but it is in the favor of the declines right now. When we talk about the broader markets, then they are holding pretty decent in trade right now in terms of the cut that we are seeing on the benchmark indices, because the mid cap and the small cap index is as of now is trading flat right now, but a lot of stock specific action like PNB Housing is one such counter. On the back of the block deal, we are seeing a cut of 6% and no substantial gain from the day's lowest point. But with this, let's move on, viewers, and let's connect with our technical expert for today, and let's understand that how is he seeing the market dynamics playing out right now. And let me welcome on board Kush Bora on the technical front. Hi Kush, very good morning, and thank you so much for your time. First of all, with the kind of selling that we are seeing on Nifty as well as Bank Nifty, tell us what are the key levels that you are watching out for.
Hi, Srishti. First of all, very good morning. Well, the first level on the Nifty to watch for, is 22,700. Even before the start of this week, the 23,000 call and put had a strong, open interest for the weekly expiry and a premium of approximately 300 rupees. So the broad range came to 22,700 on the downside and 23,300 on the upside. We're very close to testing this 22,700 mark. I think we should be able to respect that. But even if that does not happen, and if we do slip, just below that, it's not entirely a bad sign, because, from my perspective, this is leaving room for an up move, on the election day, assuming that the results come out, as expected or better. So I think this is just the market perhaps positioning itself, on the lighter side, rather than perhaps in any kind of aggressive selling, in the stocks or the market.
Right, but 22,700 is what we should be able to respect when it comes to Nifty 50. But Kush, quickly, if you can take us through the levels for Bank Nifty as well.
Sure. On the Bank Nifty, the first level of support, and a strong one at that, came in at 48,800. Now we're trading slightly below that. So the next level to watch for will be the 20-day moving average, which comes in at 43,50, 40, or rather 48,350 and 48,400. So thereabouts. Again, fairly close to that. But, my take is that, we could see some sort of a rebound or at least consolidation around those levels. Bank Nifty had broken out after a very, sharp period of underperformance versus the Nifty. And we did see that uptick. While it seems to be fizzling out, I still believe that, like the Nifty and a lot of stocks, this is more of a round of profit booking rather than anything else, and the market positioning itself on the lighter side.
For that, and before we start addressing your queries, let's get in the management of Supriya Life Science. Saloni Wagh, the director, is joining us after reporting the Q4 numbers. So firstly, margins have declined if we see on a YY basis, but what were the factors at play and how do you see margins going ahead?
Basically, I will tell you about the operations of Supriya Life Science, we work with certain EBITDAs in our mind, and we try to see that EBITDA and the margins are maintained. And we have been doing this for last couple of years. Though we are into API segment, we work with some specialty APIs where we have certain edge on the margins.
Welcome back to Buy Now Sell Now show, where we get you answers for all your stock related queries. And today to answer the same, we are being joined by two of our very special guests, Kush Bora on the technical front, as well as Sonam Srivastava is joining us on the fundamental side. A very good morning to both of you. And viewers, you can write to us on a WhatsApp number that will be flashing throughout the show on the top of our screen, and you all can also write to us on our X as well as Facebook pages with your name, your stock that you're invested in, as well as the buy price to guide you better. But with this, viewers, let's move on and let's start taking your queries then. And the first query that I have, Sonam, I beg your pardon. Sonam, the first query is from Sandeep from Noida. He wants an advice on Bajaj Consumers. He's holding 500 shares and his buy price is 250 rupees. For the long term, how does the fundamentals look to you for this company?
So see, looking at fundamentally, I think the stock is valued quite fairly. It's a high quality stock. The growth numbers have been strong. But I think the FMCG segment itself has been a little bit under stress, and you can see that it's not a very high momentum stock, right? There's not been a lot of good performance in the recent times. I think a lot that's going to happen in various sectors will depend on what happens with the elections. I think the next government that comes in should have a focus on the welfare side, and I think so he could hold on to this for the long term. It's a very stable stock, so it doesn't harm him to hold this. But yeah, I think FMCG sector has been slow to grow, right? So I wouldn't recommend him to add things just yet.
Queries from Balaji Chennai, and it's for you, Kush. He holds actually Morpen Lab around 200 shares, bought at a price of 51 rupees. He wants to know what is the short to medium term target for this counter.
Well, there was an attempt at, an up move, but, that seems to have fizzled out. Perhaps could be the market effect as well. So what I would do is I would perhaps play this with a pinch of salt. 45 is where I would place my stop loss. But if the stock was, if the stock were to take a rebound from the 50-day moving average, which it is sitting at currently, then I think the near-term targets, would be 49 and then perhaps 51. So perhaps an exit at his buying price is something that he can look at gradually. But nevertheless, 45 is a good level to keep your stop losses at. If that is broken, the stock could slip further.
All right, moving on. And Sonam, the next query that I have is on Parag Milk Foods. We didn't see any impressive set of numbers from all these dairy companies, but V. Ravichandran wants to know that since the company is increasing its product portfolio to cheese and ice creams now, do you believe that it is a good company to invest for the long term?
Yes, like you rightly said, there has been some stress with that stock, even in the recent times. I think this is the impact of the results, right? Fundamentally, if we look at it, it's not a bad company. It is, quite stable on the fundamental side. It is a very small stock, so you have to be careful given that, there has been some stress on the small and mid cap segment. But, if you look at the valuations, it is very fairly valued compared to the peers. And with the differentiation in products, they could see impact, but we'll have to watch out for their execution. So I think he could hold on to this stock for the longer term, but you have to watch out for how the execution of the new plans go out, right?
The next query is from Vishal from Dubai, and he wants to know which of these three stocks would be good to enter or buy at this point of time from long-term perspective. So this query is for you, Sonam, and the three stocks are Tanla Platforms, Borosil Renewables, and Prince Pride. What would be your recommendation out of these three stocks?
No, I think Tanla Platforms is a very interesting stock in the IT segment, right? It is in the cloud space. And we've seen this stock have a very good momentum somewhere last year. Right now, it's been relatively slow moving, but it's a very interesting stock, and the IT and the cloud infrastructure is bound to grow. So I would assume it's a good stock to go with. Borosil New Renewables, again, renewable segment has been in demand. This stock has been under some stress. In terms of valuations, it is slightly overpriced compared to some of the peers. So I would say be a little bit careful with this. And the third stock is, if you can name it.
It was Tanla platform, Borosil Renewables, and the third one was actually, just let me check the query, has moved lower. Well, it was Prince Pipes.
Prince Pipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of activity happening in the pipe and fitting segment. It's a small cap stock. Obviously, it has been under a little bit of stress recently, but it's been growing strongly, right? Not extremely overvalued in terms of the peers, but yeah, it's a small stock. You have to be careful. And due to the recent stress, I would say be a little bit cautious, but could be an interesting bet for the longer term.
Right, moving on to the next query then. And Kush, the next query is on Castrol India. Rima from Pune has bought 270 shares and her buy price is 218 rupees. She's at a loss in this one. What's the outlook on the technical front? She can continue holding it for the next 6 months, but would you advise for the same?
Well, she could continue holding on. However, the challenge is that the stock might perhaps lack momentum. The near-term outlook is a little bleak, where the stock has actually seen sell-off at higher levels. Any attempt towards recovery and the 20-day moving average has sort of fizzled out. But if the view is for 6 months, I think she could hold on to this for a little longer. My stop loss though here would be 180 or just below that. If that is taken out, then the stock could head a little lower, perhaps even test the 200-day moving average. So with a stop loss of just under 180, perhaps a 178, is where you could place your stop loss and continue to hold.
Next query is from Sudarshan and he wants to know whether can he buy Bharat Dynamics at the current prices. So Sonam, how are the fundamentals looking firstly on Bharat Dynamics, and then we'll go to Kush for the technical part?
Easy. I think this is the stock of the season where everybody is betting on it for the last week, right? And the stock has seen a very good resurgence. I think it's a very high beta stock. Would be, I think the movement in the next week would be totally dependent on the results. But yeah, I think it's a good momentum stock in terms of quality, valuation, everything. It ranks really well. So, I think it's a good stock to bet on, but there would be volatility closely linked to what happens during the elections, right?
Bharat Dynamic looking on the technical front?
Well, the good thing is that the sell-off that we saw over the last 2 days, I will include, in fact, the last week as well, where the stock actually hit a high of 1660, close to that level, and then, just sort of gave way. And this is actually a very healthy sign. The stock had reached, overbought territories. Now it's cooling off. Perhaps some more dip, let's say towards 1420 kind of levels will be a slightly more attractive buy. But on the whole, I concur with Sonam on this one that the stock is in an uptrend. There is, a possibility that the stock could very well retest 1650 highs that it recently made. You just might want to perhaps, hold on a little before you deploy a big capital, wait for the election results, but not a bad idea to perhaps accumulate a little right now. And, depending on the kind of move that it comes after the result, you could go on and add more, be it either side, down or up. But you could start with a small quantity now and add post the result.
All right, moving on to the next one. And Kush, one more query coming for you. This one is from Hanif, and he has bought two counters. Firstly, Suzlon Energy, 600 shares, and a buy price is 48 rupees, quite close to the 52-week high of this counter. And the other one is Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Again, a buying at a higher level versus the current market price. 56 is his buying price with 1500 shares. What to do in both of these? Continue to hold on or make some adjustments with respect to the stop losses as well?
Ujjivan is an exit. The stock was trying desperately to cross above the 200-day moving average for the last 15-20 days, perhaps a little more, but hasn't really been successful. It's given way. Now, it's slightly different, but if you look at the other banks, especially some of the big names, or even the smaller names in the PSU space, like a Union Bank or perhaps an Indian Bank, some of those names are doing well. So a switch from Union Bank to some of these names will perhaps be a more prudent strategy. So Ujjivan Bank is an exit very clearly. As far as Suzlon goes, well, the stock's actually done quite a lot. and it's off, the highs, and his buying price, is a little on the high side. My suggestion would be to keep a tight stop loss at 42. If that is taken out, you should, exit. But then there's a possibility that, if it does consolidate in this zone for some time, the stock could inch toward 48 and perhaps a 50 as well. So Suzlon, hold with a stop loss of 42.
Query is from Sandeep Sharma from Gurgaon, and he wants to know whether is it a good time to entry DLF and Tata Motors futures for short term, say for the next 1 month. Kush, how's the charts looking for DLF and Tata Motors?
Well, just broadly on the positioning, on a portfolio positioning, if I can make a comment, it's not a good idea right now to perhaps go big on, futures, especially initiate, fresh long positions, at least on slightly bigger quantities, just because we have a very big event, around the corner. Once that is out of the way, perhaps that will be a good time to consider, going long from a leveraged perspective. Speaking purely from the stock move perspective, I think both these stocks had done well, but are coming off the highs. I am tempted to buy these stocks, but the fall hasn't really stemmed. So what I will do is I will wait for, the support levels to be tested and a rebound from there. For DLF, it's not too far. 810 is a support zone. If it does take support there and rebound, then this dip might turn out to be a buying opportunity. As far as Tata Motors goes, the support zone is slightly lower, 910. If it does respect that, and if it does rebound from there, then a good entry point. So both of these buy on dips, but from the leverage perspective, I would suggest a wait and watch.
All right, so Kush just highlighted the levels for Tata Motors. Even Javed Ahmed had a query on Tata Motors, so we believe that this must have helped answering his queries as well. But with this, viewers, it's time to slip into a very short break in this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to take more of the stock-related queries. Welcome back to Buy Now Sell Now, show where we get you answers for all your stock related queries. And the next query, Sonam, that I have is coming from Ajish from Kerala. I guess he's writing to us for the first time and he wants an advice on Jio Financials. He's a long-term investor and holding 1,000 shares, but his buy price is 380 rupees. Currently at a loss, but for the long term, any targets for Jio Financials?
See, I think the stock definitely has been an investor favorite, and I think he's bought it at a top. I would expect the returns for this stock to be totally numbers driven, right? I think we would have to see how the synergy with the Geo Group sort of pan out for the financial services. I would expect that we could hold on to this particular stock. There could be a price target of around 380 levels in the short term, but again, this has totally to be driven by the results that come out from this particular counter, right?
The next query is from Prem Kumar from Jaipur and it's on ACC. He has around 100 shares bought at a price of 2,600. Now he can continue to hold this counter for the next 1 year, but he wants to know is it a good time to average at the current levels and what would be your target for the next 1 year? Sonam, what's your view on ACC?
No, I think ACC has been one of the good stocks that has been picked up with some quite few of our strategies. I think the cement segment is seeing a lot of resurgence after the results. The real estate segment is coming up strong. The manufacturing segment is coming up strong. So definitely, cement should also have a good future ahead. So I would suggest that he could hold on to it and he could probably accumulate if we see any dips coming out in the future. So we definitely have a strong view here.
All right, Kush, what's your view on Adani Total Gas? Anjali, who is a senior citizen holding 280 shares and a buy price is 750 rupees. At a profit in this one, but since the kind of move that we are seeing in all these Adani shares, what will be your advice for Adani Total Gas?
Well, this stock is consolidating with a negative bias, right? I mean, barely holding on to the 50-day moving average, on good days. My suggestion would be it's not a bad idea to take some money home. So partially book profit, book, about 50%. The rest you should continue to hold on with, let's say, a stop loss of about 900 since the buy price is much lower. And that would perhaps, work well. Any kind of spike that you get, where the stock crosses 1,000, should be taken as an opportunity to exit the remaining quantity also.
The next query is from Swati, and it's for you, Sonam, and she wants to know which two stocks to buy out of these three: Exide, UCO Bank, and Suzlon for long term.
No, I think Exide definitely is a very interesting stock. It is holding very strong in terms of momentum. So I think this is a strong stock. In terms of Suzlon, I think Kush gave you an overview of that particular stock. The stock has been under some stress, and you have to watch out for some movement there. The second stock was, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yuko.
UCO.
UCO Bank. Again, banking stocks have been, a little bit of underperformer. There has been some momentum in the last few weeks. I think again, this particular stock will have its movement closely dependent on the results that come out next week. So I would say that, let's be cautious with it, and maybe, next week could give us an opportunity to buy in more, right? So among these three stocks, Exide and UCO would be something that we can look at.
All right, Kush, the next query is from Kusuma from Pune, and she wants to have a view on IGL. Any best price to enter IGL and keep holding that for the next 1 year?
Well, from a 1 year perspective, perhaps a good entry point would be the current market price as well, or perhaps a slight dip towards, let's say, the 450 kind of zone. Very honestly, these are stocks which actually run on news, or rather, run on rumor and then fizzle out on news. So these are purely momentum plays. So my suggestion would be that even if you end up buying, some quantity, keep booking partially, at every rise. This is not something that you would want to hold on for a very long term. So, current price is a good entry point. If you want a sweeter risk reward ratio, then perhaps the 450 is a good, entry point. From there on the upside, we're looking at 490 and then 510 as the two targets. And a strong support zone comes in at about 435. So that should act as your stop loss. But as I said, they're fairly volatile. And any upswing that you get after your buying price, 5 to 10%, should be used as an exit opportunity partially.
From Janardhan Nandkumar, and he's saying that he has been holding TTK Prestige for the past 8 years. The total return that he has got so far is more than 200%. He holds around 120 shares, and given the fact that the share prices are now below 1,000 rupees, he wants to know whether should he continue to hold this counter or exit. Sonam, what would be your view here for TTK Prestige?
See again, very interesting journey that he's had. I think the stock definitely has seen some upsurge in the last few years. I think, like we said, that the FMCG stocks have been a little bit under stress in the recent times, but definitely they would provide a lot of stability to your portfolio. I think again, we'll have to see how the policies pan out after the elections. But you could hold on to this for the short term, and maybe depending on what happens, you could have a longer term call. So I think, you could definitely hold on to the stock, but there has been some stress in the counter, definitely.
All right, moving on then. And Kush, the next query that I have is on CG Power. Vijay Matthews from Kochi has bought CG Power 2 weeks back. He didn't share his buy price, but what I can see in the charts as well, from the last 2 weeks, the stock is showing some momentum on the upside. So do you believe that the kind of flattish movement today, the stock is once again getting ready for a move up, because he has bought this counter only for the technical setup as well as to book out some short-term profits?
Well, assuming that his stock, or rather his buying price, is much lower than the current price, because of the move that the stock has seen over the last 2 weeks, come in a bit of a profit booking as well over the last 4 or 5 sessions. My suggestion here would be that 610 is the 20-day moving average that should now act as your stop loss or your trailing stop loss depending on your buy price. On the whole, I think the stock is in a very strong uptrend. The couple of odd days that we've seen when the stock is down is largely to do with the positioning before the elections and in line with the market perhaps cooling off a little bit. But on the whole, I think the stock is in a fair bit of an uptrend. 610 is a strong support zone. Keep that as your trailing stop loss. The next move from this on this stock could take it to 665, close to the high that it made recently. But once that is taken out, we're looking at a 685 also on the upside. So if you can hold, you could perhaps keep a deeper stop loss and hold. But if it's, as he's mentioned, purely for a technical reason, then on a technical ground, keep your trailing stop loss at 610 with the 20-day moving average reside.
Well, the next query is from Shivanshu from Delhi, and it's for you, Kush. He has bought around 200 shares of Mazgaon Dock at a average price of 3,050 rupees. He wants to know the short-term target for this counter.
Well, first thing you'd want to do is lock in, your profits, or perhaps at least come to a no profit, no loss scenario. So keep a trailing stop loss at 3050. Technically, the level is slightly lower, which is 2975. But because it's a volatile counter, we're heading into a big event, and you'd want to perhaps be in a situation where at least you lock your capital in. Then 3050, the buying price should be your trailing stop loss to begin with. Now, after 2 days of profit booking, we are seeing an uptrend on this one resume. So from a near-term perspective, I think the stock has all the potential to go to 3225, and once that is taken out, a 3300 also is very much on the cards. This could well happen before the election results are out. So as the stock keeps moving higher, keep your stop losses also trailing, along with the stock on the higher side.
All right, moving on then. And the next query, Sonam, that I have is coming from a viewer named Aryan, and he wants a view on NHPC. He has bought these shares at a price of close to 98 rupees. Is this a good stock to hold for the long term?
No, definitely NHPC has been one of the favorites in the power segment, is in an uptrend, right? So for NHPC, I would say, you could definitely hold on to the long term. Short term, many of the stocks, the movement has been little speculative around the election results. So short term, you could put some stop losses, maybe 5% down from the current levels. But I think, given the strong upsurge in the power sector and the great growth path ahead, I think this is a long-term hold.
Well, that was Sonam's view on NHPC. With that, let's slip into a short break and we'll address more viewer queries post that.
Welcome back to Buy Now Sell Now. Let's keep it going with all your stock related queries. And Kush, coming to you for the next query. This one is coming from Sunny from Kolkata, and he wants an advice on IOC. He has bought the shares at a price of 176 rupees. Any short-term targets to look out for IOC?
Well, I think there will be traction on this stock post elections only, depending on the kind of policy changes that come about. And largely, the setup, if you see, is positive for this stock. But after the very vertical rise that we saw late last year, early this year, the stock actually gone into consolidation mode. So I think from the near-term perspective, you could have a stop loss close to 159, and on the upside, the stock could very well reach 175, and then perhaps a 185 kind of a level also. But I think he'll have to wait for the election results and the subsequent policy announcements to be out of the way before you see any kind of momentum on this one.
The next query is from Bharti from Gandhinagar, Gujarat, and she's a senior citizen and a long-term investor as well. And she's holding around 50 shares of Nland Laboratories, bought at a price of 6,850. Sonam, she wants to know whether she should add more at the current market price.
See, I think, the stock definitely has had a very strong performance in the last 1 year. And I think pharma stocks, bulk drugs are going to have a strong performance in the next year as well. I think the focus from any sort of government that comes into power would be strong on the pharma segment. And if there is volatility, then this stock would stay strong as well. So I think good path ahead. It's a small stock in this segment and seems to be doing quite well. So I would say, please hold on to it. And if you want to add, I think current levels where we've seen some correction, right, in the last few months seem to be interesting point for you to accumulate, right?
The next query that I have is coming in from Deepak Kumar Saha, who's bought 1,000 shares of ICICI Bank, but his buy price is just 980 rupees. He's sitting at mild profits right now and wanting to know, is this a good time to book out the profits at current market price, given the pressure that we are seeing in the private banking names?
Is that for me?
Yes, Kush, it's for you.
Sure. Well, not a bad idea. As you rightly said, there was a spike and then, the stocks giving way. He's still sitting on some profit, marginal as it may be. Not a bad idea to, take some money home and perhaps, reconsider any kind of trade or entry, after the 4th of June event. But for now, the stock's breaching the 50-day moving average as well after slipping from the 20-day moving average. So not a bad idea to, book whatever profit he's getting right.
Queries from Rakesh Gupta from Delhi. Yesterday, 3M India reported its result, and he wants to know whether is it a right time to buy 3M India at this price. Sonam, have you looked at this counter?
No, I think 3M India definitely is a interesting stock. It's a very expensive share to buy because of this strong, high share price. But see, I think in terms of the segment that it is, which is industrials and electronics, I think interesting stock to buy. It's seeing some upsurge happen in the last few counters. We've also effectively made a lot of bet in the electronic and the electrical space. I think it would be interesting stock to hold on to. And given the resurgence in the metal prices, resurgence coming out from global manufacturing, this could have a interesting path ahead. So I would say, you can hold on to it and possibly add more, right? In wherever you see some dips.
On 3M India, that's the advice coming in to add more, but on dips. But Kush, the next query is on Sun TV, and after a long while, we are seeing that Sun TV is finally showing some up move, and it was one of the result candidates as well. And Subramaniam from Chennai has bought these shares at a lower price of 637 rupees. What's the outlook going ahead? Continue to hold on or book out profits?
Partially and hold the rest for 680 and above. That's the level that the stock has not been able to cross for the last 3 weeks, perhaps even a month's time. And it's attempted that a couple of times, but hasn't really been able to move past that. Now, while there is an up move, the stock is fair. The stock has seen fair degree of volatility, where in the last two sessions itself, the stock has come to 635 levels, close to I think what his buying price is. So not a bad idea since the stock is in an upsurge right now, comfortably above his buying price. Book 50% and hold the rest for an up move towards 680 and higher levels.
The next query is from Susil Kumar from Trichy. He wants to know whether one should hold, add or exit Happy Forgings at current price of around 1100 rupees. The IPO had come in at around 850. Sonam, what would you advise?
No, I think the stock has seen very good move from the IPO prices, and I think the segment that it is in, right, which is casting and forging, is seeing a lot of good up move. Stocks like Bharat Forge, CI Automotives have done really well. So, it's a very interesting stock. Being small, it would see good movement. So I would say, there might be a good path ahead for this particular stock. So they can definitely hold on to their position.
Sonam, the next query that I have is on Utkarsh Small Finance Bank. Ramkant from Delhi has bought 300 shares, but his buy price is just 25 rupees. Good to book out profits at this point in time because the stock is already a doubler for him, or continue to hold on?
No, I think see the stock in the recent times has been quite volatile. He has possibly bought it at I think in the March lows that the stock hit. So he could book out some of the profits given the price pressure that the stock is seeing. And see again the movement from the banking segment has to be totally data driven. I think rate cuts is one big cue that would come and give this stock a lot of push, but I think that is something that we'll have to wait for a while. So, it might not be a bad idea for him to book out some of the profits right now. And maybe obviously in the second half of the year when the rate cuts come near, we could see some upsurge here as well.
The next query is from Manish Singhania, and he wants to know what should he do with PNB Housing Finance. He had bought around 1,000 shares at a price of 886. Today the share prices are down on the back of a block deal that we had seen. Kush, do you expect a bounce back when it comes to PNB Housing Finance?
Well, the broad structure is not encouraging, but as you said, the move today that we are seeing is on the back of a block deal, and perhaps that recovery could very well come underway. So there is a recovery that can come into this stock where 770 and perhaps even an 800 is also a level that the stock could retest. Maybe not immediately, but gradually over, let's say, a couple of weeks time. So if he has a position on this one and the buying price, as you said, is above 800, my suggestion would be to keep exiting at these points where 770 and 800 are the key resistance zones. Not entirely sure if the stock will be able to take out his buying price anytime soon. So keep these levels on your radar. And on the downside, 720 is a very strong support zone. If that is broken, then you should exit completely.
All right, Sonam, the next query is from Dr. Satish from Bangalore, holding 150 shares of Gateway Distriparks from a price of 63 rupees. He's a long-term investor and can wait for the next 3 years as well. He's had a profit in this one, but what is the long-term outlook on this counter?
No, again, very interesting stock in the logistics segment. I think there has been a recent sort of volatility. Even right now, the stock is under a little bit of a price pressure. But the logistics segment, could see a lot of up move if the government policies continue. This stock seems to be very strong in terms of returns. Fundamentally, it's a good stock. It is not priced very expensive compared to its peers like Delivery and Container Corp. So definitely an interesting stock, and I don't think there's a strong queue to buy it just yet. But we could wait and watch with this counter, and they can definitely hold on to their positions, right?
But with this, viewers, let's start taking all your queries in the rapid fire session then. And the first query is from Lakshmi from Bangalore. Lakshmi, I'm not sure, Kush, whether you track this one or not. Swadeshi Polytex. If that's on your coverage list, Lakshmi is holding the shares at a price of 404 rupees. Is that a hold or sell?
First up, I don't track this. Second, I think the exit is going to be very difficult because the stock is hitting lower circuits for a very long time now. So any opportunity you get should be taken as an exit.
The next query is from Rajiv from Mumbai. He has bought 400 shares of Biocon at a price of 300. Push, what would be your technical view here?
Positive. Keep a trailing stop loss at 305. Upside could be till 330 and slightly beyond as well.
All right, Kush, one more query for you. Mukesh is already holding Tata Power at the price of 260 rupees, wants to add more for the long term. So any level on the technical front you can suggest and help him with to add more of this stock?
425, that will be a good level to accumulate some more.
The next query is from Snigdha from Delhi, and it's for you, Sonam. She has around 200 shares of NMDC, bought at a price of 250. Post the results, should she continue to hold this counter?
I think, like you said, it would some of it would depend on the results, but I think the metal segment itself is, or the commodity segment itself is seeing strong resurgence. So I would not recommend them to exit it, but they could put some stop losses depending on what happens in the elections. So maybe a stop loss from here at 240, 235 might make sense, but it's an interesting stock to hold on.
All right, Sonam, what's your view on Havells India for the long term? A viewer named Smita is holding the stock from a price of 1,514 rupees. Good to hold on or book out some profits here?
I see it seems to be into a very strong momentum zone. I think electrical goods is a segment where we are seeing very strong demand. So I think why not hold on to it? I think there's no impact. It's a very sort of organic trend that is happening. So you could book some of your profits, but I would recommend that you hold on to this stock.
Well, thank you, Sonam, and thank you, Kush, for joining us on Buy Now, Sell Now.